Hi everyone. So my name is Ragini and I run Third Culture Cooks. You can find us on Instagram or on Facebook at Third Culture Cooks, all one word. And I'm going to chat to you a little bit today about. Um, I'm going to chat to you a little bit today about a book I've recently written. And somebody just mentioned Corona, and that was really the impetus for writing this book. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. And then I think my book will actually make more sense to you about why I wrote this book and what it's all about and what I'm hoping to do with it. So, I grew up as a fairly typical third culture kid. So a third culture kid is, somebody who doesn't live in the country that they're from, and typically, moves around a little bit and adopts another culture, therefore third culture. So I have now lived across, so I grew up outside of India, and I've lived across 5 countries on 3 continents, and traveled a fair amount in between. And, growing up and moving countries every 2, 3 years for the last 10 years, I've often struggled with the idea of home. I am as comfortable or as at home here in India as I am in Canada or in the UK or in the Middle East or anywhere else that I've lived. And selfishly, I believe that I belong everywhere. Although it's probably quite clear from my sort of funny accent that I don't really belong anywhere. And food is something that's always given me a lot of stability in defining myself. Food is that thing when you go to a new place and you have a familiar meal, it makes you feel at home right away. So food has always played that really, really key role for me. So if I can make myself a plate of rajma chawal or I can make some hummus or some mashed potatoes, I feel right at home. And so that's always been a key factor as I've moved around, and I think for many people that's the case. But also, food is something that's been a really rich well for my curiosity. So, living in an international setting in international cities, it's allowed me to explore foods and ingredients from all different countries, all the way from, Georgia to Pakistan to Ethiopia to Malaysia, and everywhere in between, And as much as I love eating at a new restaurant, I would much rather go to a local supermarket and buy 5 or 6 ingredients I've never heard of, and then go home and figure out how to use them. And one of the things I'm really excited about in India is the number of regional cuisines that we have. Like, we're very, very lucky in India to have such an incredible diversity of entire cuisines within our country. And Delhi Food Walks obviously does a great job of exploring these, but just the sheer depth of knowledge, of food knowledge that we have as a culture is something that's really, really special, and definitely deserves to be studied as much as it is and more. And so that takes me to history, right? So where does food come from? Why do we have such a rich food tradition? Why do certain countries eat certain things? Where did this tomato come from that's eaten all over the world? Where did cumin come from that's eaten all over the world? How did these things become global ingredients? And these questions are things that I really spend a lot of time thinking about. If you look at my bookshelf, it's about 80% books about food and their history. And it's fascinating to me that human memory is so short. We start to think that things are so traditional, that things are so intrinsically ours, even though they may have only come to us not very long ago in the course of human history. So that is something that's been really interesting to me. And the other thing that's been really interesting to me is the politics of food. So food is a powerful tool. Certain communities eat certain things, don't eat certain things, and so if you give them those foods or keep those foods from them, you're playing with food, you're playing with power, and you're playing with identity. And that's being used in politics a lot. And so actually, when I'm not in quarantine, like all of us are, I host dinners where we spend 6 courses looking at identity through food and conflict. And so we marry history and we marry politics and we marry food and we bring it all together and we spend some time looking at why do we eat the way that we eat? Where did this come from? So I've always explored this relationship between food and history. And one thing I have discovered is that we're actually all far more alike than we might think. Like doesn't really matter where in the world you're eating. There are some things that are just absolutely fundamental to a good meal, and it's very common. It's very common. It might show up in different ways. It might have slightly different seasonings. It might be eaten at a slightly different time of the year, depending on where things grow. But there's lots of commonalities between us as a human race. This quarantine has kept people in their homes, socially distanced from the world. But there's no reason that we can't experience the world from our kitchens. So on my Instagram, I've taken to sharing recipes and their histories and their stories with my followers over the last 3 months, and I've had really great engagement. We've done lots of cook-alongs, we've cooked different recipes, we've made some Malaysian food, we've made some Ismaili dishes, we've made a Palestinian dish together, and people were interested in it. And so I thought, okay, well, this is fun, but I'd really like to do something more for COVID relief. I'm just one person, and the best thing for me to do is stay at home because I'm not a medical professional. So what can I do? And so I decided that the way that I would try and contribute to COVID relief is to harness the power of everybody around me in order for all of us to contribute together. So I wrote a cookbook as the vehicle for us to do that. And here we come to the topic of today's talk, my cookbook, Quarantine Cooks. Quarantine Cooks is a collection of 40 easy-to-make recipes from all around the world. The book includes many of my most popular recipes from Instagram, plus several others. It includes recipes that I've been working on for 3 months, recipes I've been working on for 8 months, recipes I've been working on for 8 years, and it also includes a few really, really special recipes that I feature at some of my dinners where we explore food and identity, like I was telling you about. So I invite you to come into my book and journey around the world with me right from your kitchen. I live in Bombay, India, and I have procured all of my ingredients here, and they are very much available. And I'll get to making substitutions in a second, but I invite you to be curious with me, to go to different countries with me and see what they eat. The proceeds from this book, 100% of the proceeds from this book, will be split between two organizations that are working at the front lines of COVID relief. So the first organization is Sneha, which is an organization in Mumbai that works with women and children at risk. And they currently have 8,000 volunteers on the ground working for COVID relief. 8,000. And those 8,000 people are impacting almost 1 million beneficiaries. Yeah. So half of our money is going to go to there, and the other 50% is going to go to an organization called the Family Support Institute, which supports individuals with severe disabilities and their families, making sure that they have the resources and the support necessary to see them through in general, but specifically see them through this difficult COVID time when access is very, very limited, very, very limited for these folks. So, like I was saying, I was just telling you guys that I have recently written a cookbook called Quarantine Cooks, and Quarantine Cooks has 40 easy-to-make recipes from all over the world. The book includes most of my most popular recipes from Instagram, so my Instagram handle is Third Culture Cooks, plus several others, including some of my really, really special recipes which I serve at my 6-course dinners when we're not under lockdown, and many others. So I invite you to journey around the world right from your kitchen. The proceeds from this book will be split between two organizations, and I think I just finished telling you about that, but Sneha, an organization in Mumbai working with underprivileged women and children, and the Family Support Institute in Vancouver that supports families who have an individual with a severe disability. So both of these organizations are really helping people through this COVID-19 period. Their work has been disrupted, their lives have been disrupted, as with all of us, and these folks are really like at the front line doing what they can. So I have been feeling really helpless, and so I decided that, okay, in order to help the people who are actually doing something right now, I'm going to write a cookbook and do what I do best with people. We're going to go around the world eating good food right from our kitchen and talking about it on social media. So this book includes recipes from over 20 countries, and they all have really, really easy to follow steps. So whether you want to make an Indian biryani, or you want to make a tomato Canadian galette, or you want to try your hand at a Japanese katsu curry, or you want to try a Thai pad krapao, or some good old brownies. Hi Shibra, nice to see you here. Thank you for joining. This book has it all, and hopefully the recipes are accessible to everybody and cooks of all levels. So you don't need to be familiar with your kitchen before you use this book. You don't need to know lots and lots about, Japanese cuisine before you try making the curry. No. Just pick up this book, read through it once. If you have any questions, shoot me a message on Instagram, shoot me a message on Facebook. I'm more than happy to answer, and start going around the world. Start trying foods from different places. The other thing that I have in this book are some really fun historical facts and stories before several of the recipes. And I'm going to share 3 of these stories quickly with you here today. So one of the recipes in the book is for Tibetan momos. So momos are obviously a type of dumpling, and dumplings feature in almost every cuisine from China to Poland and everywhere in between. So one theory is that they originated with the Mongols, and then they spread with Genghis Khan's travels, to everywhere that he traveled to. The Tibetan momo, which is obviously very, very popular in Tibet, Nepal, East and North India, are what the recipe that I have in the book, and kind of what I'm talking about today. So they are traditionally filled with either a yak meat or a local Tibetan cheese that is like a paneer or like a ricotta cheese. But in India, as many of you will know, they're more popular with chicken or vegetables or paneer as the filling. So they're traditionally eaten with a chili garlic sauce called sipin, or in Tibetan, or momo ko achar in Nepalese. And they take a little bit of time to make, so it's worth dedicating a morning to them, and then make lots for the whole family, because they are, each little parcel. It's very therapeutic to sit and make each little parcel and fold it nicely so it looks beautiful. And then you can maybe freeze some, you can maybe make some for your neighbors, but it's a labor of love. The second story is about, I'd say, one of the most popular dishes globally, the biryani. Biryani, biryani, biryani. Is there anything better on a holiday or any other day than a plate of a steaming hot biryani? The origins of biryani are disputed, but almost every city through the Middle East, Central Asia, and South Asia have their own version of this beloved dish. It maybe started with it did start with the Persians, but it's been reworked and repackaged many, many times over. So you have a Hyderabadi biryani, you have a Calcutta biryani, you have a Lucknowi biryani, you have a Chettinad biryani, you have a Sri Lankan biryani, you have a Sindhi Punjabi biryani, you have a Punjabi biryani. Everyone has their own version. And it's said that on the subcontinent, biryani became popular when Mumtaz, Shah Jahan's wife, wanted something large-scale and nutritious to be prepared, for their soldiers. So from the barracks to the royal courts, biryani is a favorite across a lot of the world, definitely across most of Asia. Some parts of Eastern Europe even have something that's similar to biryani. And then all the migrants who left from India took the pilau or the biryani with them and spread it to different parts of the world as far flung as the Caribbean. So it's really a global dish. And in my book, I have a super, super easy stovetop recipe for a chicken biryani that will take you no more than 1 hour to make, which, when you think about a biryani, is very, very quick, and is absolutely delicious. And you only need 1 pot for it, so less to wash up. Finally, I'm going to talk to you guys about a dish that I think most people would have heard about. Everyone's heard of noodles, right? Everyone's heard of noodles. So mee goreng are a delicious, delicious fried noodles available in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, and across sort of that belt. But the version that I have a recipe for in my book has a really, really interesting history. So there is a large Tamil community in Malaysia, and many of them are food vendors called mamaks. And mamaks is like mama, it's from the word for uncle in Tamil. And so their food from the food from the Tamil Muslim community in Malaysia has come to be called mamak food. And it has Malaysian influences, it has Indian influences, it has, adaptations that they've made. And so from all of these different parts, this beautiful cuisine has emerged. And so the mee goreng is one of those versions. And when you look at it, you'll see that there's certain things about it that are definitely different to the Indonesian version. The inclusion of potatoes, for example, or the level of chili is a little bit higher. And the way that they put the vegetables in is a little bit different. So it's a really, really special recipe that will transport you right to the streets of Kuala Lumpur, and the ingredients are so simple. It's, a few vegetables, some soy sauce, and some noodles, and some chicken if you want, and you can put it together in your kitchen in 30 minutes and have a delicious meal for the whole family. So the mamak, like I was telling you, is a slang term from the Tamil for uncle, and the word is now widely used to describe the people as well as the style of food that they serve at mamak food stalls. And like I said, the combination of flavors is Malay, Chinese traditions with Indian influence. So really, really delicious. Um, yeah, so definitely if you feel like, making a donation for COVID, I would highly encourage that you make it to my little fundraiser, and you'll receive this beautiful book, Quarantine Cooks, for that donation, and you will have 40 recipes from around the world. And I believe very strongly in cooking with the produce available to you. I always encourage people to make the substitutions that work for them. If you need to replace an ingredient, please replace it. If you want to leave something out, leave it out. But be curious and explore new flavors. Build out your collection of spices and sauces, and all of a sudden, many world cuisines will be right at your fingertips. And yeah, I hope that Quarantine Cooks is a great place for you to start that exploration and dip your finger into 20 different countries and their food. So I think Anubhav has very kindly put the link to my website in the box right here. But if you would like to purchase the book, you can either go to my Facebook or Instagram page, so that's Third Culture Cooks, or you can go straight to my website, thirdculturecooks.com, and buy it from there. So thank you so much for having me here today, guys. I really look forward to cooking with some of you on Instagram as well. Come join me. I do a bunch of cooking classes. I do cook-alongs. There's always something going on. So come join me and let's chat more there. Bye.